Environmental Steward of the Year honors highlight the good work of an Illinois beef producer, whose stewardship practices help protect the environment and the natural resources available. Their mind for land, water, air, and beef is second to none. This year, we are excited to recognize Hanson Land and Cattle, Doug Hanson and family of Danforth, as the 2025 award winner.
When I started identifying some things that were important to me as environmental concern, went back to as far as sophomore year, FFA. I did a speech on T by 2000. Fast forward, after teaching 20 years ago, I started working with Pro Harvest Seeds. One of my responsibilities was to put on winter meetings for forage production, and pasture management, and for hay production. About 5 years into that, we started talking about cover crops as a feed. All of a sudden, corn soybean producers started showing up. Sit through cattle information just to get cover crop information. What we learned, and I learned it actually on this farm, if the cover crop is good for the soil, then it's good for the animal. And anything that's good for the animal is good for the soil usually. That's a simultaneous benefit. We've been doing this about 20 years, and the farm itself, this is where Lisa grew up, and it was outside of about 8 acres. It was all grain farmed. So then when we did the EQIP program, so we got 22,000 feet of fence, the 16 paddocks all have water at them, and then we have what's called a winter feeding station. We refer to this here, this 80 acres, as home base. This is set up that we can take all the environmental challenges that Mother Nature gives us. We're prepared for it. And we can graze our neighbors' cover crops. We can go and graze the 160 where Maddie's grandfather was born. It's connected to this farm. But we have to be able to get them off of those acres fast if we get a big rain. That's a very common thing today. What I have seen is that people who have locations like us that are 20 cows, 60 cows, 200 cows, the only way they're going to grow is if they take their home base and then they look around them and say, okay, how can we use cover crops and how can we use our insured corn, soybean, wheat systems and put the manure on it, put the livestock on it. That's a way that we can make cover crops work for everybody. It's truly a family business. That's the ag world always has been. I think that's why there's so much passion in this. Lisa and I are both 4th generation beef producers. You know, my mom and dad, Larry Judy Hanson, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be grain farming right now. And if it wasn't for Danny and Beverly Coopers, Lisa's mom and dad, that's where this farm is. We wouldn't have the cattle here like we do today. And I remind Maddie often that we would have none of this if it weren't for her grandparents. So Maddie, has become a part of this farm. So she's raised cattle since she was 8. She's always rode in the Ranger, the Kubota to move fence lines and stuff like that. But if it wasn't for the cattle side of things, she wouldn't have been able to come back and be a part of this operation. Because we're not big enough on the grain farming side, and we don't see opportunity there like we do bringing cattle on these good acres and then turn around and utilizing the cover crops for either grazing or a stored winter feed.
So I was not able to be in any of my dad's ag classes, but my dad definitely was one that he felt like my ag teacher most times. He was the one always pushing me to do contests, pushing me to just get involved and just be the best person that I can be. Just go out and just have fun and work hard, promote the beef business, promote the ag business.
Now Maddie's husband Joe, they got married in September. He's a huge part of this family and a huge part of this operation in a very, very short amount of time. His job is to identify when we take an animal from 500 pounds to 800 pounds, how we can do it most efficient. And we'll do it with grazing, and we'll do it with a very close byproduct feed called soybean hulls. That's 1 mile from Maddie and Joe's place where they run the cattle. That right there is something that is important on the economic side of this. Going back to that 500 to 800 pounds, that's also a place that we feel we can put cattle in a lot of different places. We can put it on organic acres, we can put them on cover crops in the fall, and if we get a heavy rain, it's not so hard to get those animals off. We have less chance of damaging the soils.
This farm here is about a 10-acre cattle farm. We've got about a 60-head feedlot right now. My wife, she runs the meat store, so we sell retail cuts. We're taking cattle every month to the locker plant, and they're being processed, and she has customers that will pick up, and we also have customers pick up here on the farm for all the retail cuts.
A lot of our customers, what they like to see is they love knowing that the beef is solely coming from Hanson Land and Cattle. They like knowing the cattle are on pastures, but then they also like seeing that when it gets transferred to Hanson Family Meats, that then they're able to be finished out. Their big things is they just like knowing that like we implement cover crops, we do the rotational grazing. They like seeing that the whole entire story. We're very fortunate to have both farms and that they work so well together.
We have found ways to continue to make this something that I say successful, but depends on how you measure success. And I feel it's important for me as an IBA member to make sure that I'm doing my part so that not only Maddie and Joe, but that 6th generation is able to do what we're doing today.